episode just really, I don't know, like, had we not been recording, I might have stopped after that episode.
Honestly,
like, that one was
that car
rough
episode really got me.
Because, like, in the beginning, I was just like, she's not taking the car. At first, I was surprised she got a car. I was like, that's not my experience. I'm turning 16, but okay. And then she turned it down, saying, yeah, this car's just not me. I was like, fine, you're 16, you don't have a job. Like, any means of transportation is you at this point.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Danielle.
And I'm Joe.
And this is the Black Catch-Up, where we're catching up on iconic black media we missed out on in our more religious conservative childhood. And today we watched Moesha this past few weeks.
Yep. So, I guess as usual, we kind of start with the IMDb of it.
Yes.
Kind of short review.
Yeah. A teenager struggles to come to terms with everything life throws at her. So, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
We're going to go into our favorites of the show.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, and disclaimer, we just watched the first season.
Yeah, this is just season one.
We just watched season one. Things can change as it goes on, but we just watched the first season.
Yeah. So, the first thing I liked was, I liked the little boy, Miles.
He was
like,
cute.
I thought he was hilarious. Like, he pretty much had, like, one line per episode that was gold. So,
It was a good one.
Yeah, no, I really liked the little kid.
I hope he gets more lines as the season goes on.
I know. Like, toward the end of the season, they did start to give him, like, a sort of like a plot line a couple of times.
Yeah.
And a few more lines. But I thought he was really funny. So, I think he was probably, by far my favorite character in the show.
Nice. I liked Moesha's. Well, first of all, the fashion was just outstanding. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Would recommend. Like every outfit she wore. I don't think she wore something that missed. A few times I would say the hats didn't really go with what she was wearing to me, but she is definitely ahead of what I am fashion wise. So
yeah.
Maybe it's not for me to say.
Okay. Yeah. The next thing I liked Moesha as a character, just as a whole. I thought she was like just generally like fighting the good fight in most episodes. She was fun, likable, funny. So I liked her as a character. I guess similar. I liked her friend Kim.
Yeah.
I thought Kim was hilarious and like very much like the opposite of her, or like treated like the opposite of her kind of.
Yeah.
So I really liked their dynamic together and even like apart. But yeah, I just really like those two.
I said, going off Moesha, I really liked her relationship with her stepmother, Dee. I especially liked when it progressed and they, like, started having each other's backs when the dad would say something, like, wild and crazy.
Yeah.
I really liked how it progressed, especially because in the pilot episode, they were, like, there was a lot of friction with them. It's because, I guess, new stepmom wasn't ready to, like, accept that role.
Yeah.
And Moesha had taken on the role of, like, mom to pretty much the entire household, so she was like, I don't know where I am in this house anymore. And I liked when she was able to like stop being mom and start being like an actual teenager. Like that's when, and she and Dee started having their relationship with each other. I liked how that went along.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see if I wrote anything else down. I think that's all I had. I will say I also did like how they kind of like tried to tackle some like very real issues.
Yeah.
You know, I know there was a big issue with like the interracial couple, and she was out on that date. A lot of like issues relating to like gender roles as well. You know, like you mentioned, like Dee kind of took over that kind of like housewife kind of role, but she didn't just kind of take it. You know, like they had a lot of discussion about it. They talked about it a lot. Moesha like made it very clear like there were certain like traditional like things a woman's supposed to do that she wasn't gonna do. Yeah. So I did also appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, and I can tell just from this first season, since it has like 7 or so seasons or something like that, they're definitely probably gonna tackle more.
Oh yeah.
We just again watched just the first season. I think the last thing I wrote was that I really liked how it was kind of a spiritual big sister to That's So Raven. It's not exactly the same, and it isn't a spin-off of it. The Parkers is actually the spin-off of Moesha, where it focuses on Kim and her mom.
Yeah.
But I just can tell where like the shows that I actually watched, like That's So Raven, The Proud Family, where they kind of maybe took some stuff from Moesha in terms of like the dynamic between Moesha and Kim kind of reminds me of Dejanay and Penny, and like Moesha reminds me of Raven a little bit in the fact that they're both like young black women who are just trying their best in this world, but they're flawed, but they're just trying their best, and they kind of get into different things and snoop around and stuff like that. So I just liked that it kind of paved the way. So I like that.
Yeah, I guess one final thing. I did like how a lot of the episodes ended with Moesha like writing in her diary. I kind of liked how some of the episodes didn't really have that like feel good ending within the show. Like, and a lot of times, like, life is like that. Like, you don't always kind of get that happy ending, but to see the happy ending not happen and then her just kind of reflect about it, and then that's the end of the episode, I just kind of liked that choice. I thought it made the episodes feel a little more real. Yeah.
I hope she writes more in the future seasons.
Yeah.
Because they only, like, slightly touch on it.
She mentions it, like, a couple times. They'll
but
do it at the end and beginning of episodes, but not really much in the middle.
Yeah.
You know?
Not even just her narration, just her being an actual writer. They only mention that a few times.
Yeah,
she's like in the newspaper, and like one other time where apparently she writes poems and her family was having like a little get together.
Yeah.
And she was like reciting poetry that she wrote for them. So I hope that she writes more. Anything you didn't like or find problematic?
So the one thing I had like problematic was they very much portrayed Kim as kind of like the fat, less desirable friend, you know.
90s fat phobia was strong with this one.
That's kind of just how it was in this one.
Yeah.
That was a little, I guess that was kind of problematic. Did you have anything else?
I just said the typical like 90s misogyny / homophobia, right?
Yeah.
Where especially in the Million Boy March, where the dad didn't even want his son to learn to do like laundry or like cook.
Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah.
And I was like, you for real? And Dee brought up the very valid point that everyone should take, which was, I'm teaching him how to be like a well-adjusted person. Like learning to cook and clean up after yourself aren't gender exclusive. Like what? But I did like how, even though that was there, they kind of always had either Moesha or Dee kind of like pushing against those.
Yeah, exactly.
So it wasn't as bad, but it's like, oh, your thought process is not great.
Yeah, I thought the dad like represented a very like rough, like just I don't know what the word is for it, but like
antiquated almost, like ideals.
Like he was just very like ingrained in the old way of doing things.
Yeah.
Which honestly made me kind of question how he and Dee even got together in the first place.
Yeah.
Because they seem to like conflict on so many issues related to like
just
like,
life in general.
Yeah, just life in general. And I'm like, how did y'all get together? Why are y'all together? Like, I don't know.
There were a few sparks where I can see the chemistry between them.
Yeah.
Like the characters had chemistry with each other. But like once you peel away the chemistry and just go off base of ideals only, it's like.
Yeah, and they don't really touch on how long she's been around. They make it seem like it's recent, but like, I don't know. Like they're like almost moving too fast for it to be like really recent. But like they don't know things about each other that they should know, which makes you think, okay, maybe it is recent.
Because I know Mom died 3 years ago before this whole thing started. And Dee's a teacher at the high school Moesha goes to.
Yeah.
And like Dad went to a parent-teacher conference and like hooked up with the teacher.
Yeah.
But we don't know how long after that. I know at one point it's like she's been with us they have a 6-month wedding anniversary or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think the timeline of when Dee got there is a little iffy to me. Just like
no, it's very, very iffy.
And again, this is probably just because we watched the first season. I'm sure they flesh it out a little bit more, but we don't know when she got there.
Yeah. So that like I don't know. It didn't help. It didn't help with anything in terms of like figuring out why they were together or like. Like why they got together, how they're still together, why they don't know these things about each other, why they disagree on so many things. But yeah.
Alright. So our ratings. Do you wanna go first?
Yeah, sure. So this one I gave it a 2.5. Like it really just wasn't the show for me. And I realized that kind of early on. Like you mentioned all the things I liked, but the two things that just made the show not for me was one, it was just like very high school. Very high school. Like some of the plot lines in each episode were just kind of like ridiculously high school that I couldn't really get into it. The one episode that really just like bothered me was the car episode.
I wrote notes on the car one.
What? Her dad got her a car and she said no?
She said that car is not me, and I was like,
I was seeing the whole episode like they're not gonna make an episode out of this. She's gonna accept the car, and then at the end she doesn't. I was like, what?
Because I kind of saw it being okay with her like going to be like, okay, if I can get the car that I want for the same price you paid for that car, can I do it? And that's like fine.
Yeah, and then
but
she
then at
found
the end,
she found a car too. That could.
But like the insurance,
because
it had to be the entire price together. So, but the insurance was too high, and it was just. At the end, she said no. And was like, I'm just gonna get a job by the car that is me. And I'm like,
spoiled brat.
What?
What is that?
And then Dad just kept the car in the garage. Like, what? It was. And all her friends were like, girl, if you don't take that car,
and I'm like, please take the car.
I was like, if anyone gave me a car, I'd be like, thank you so much.
16th birthday, you're getting a car, and you're complaining
that it's not a Jeep.
But
what?
The show was just really high school. And then the other thing that kind of just bothered me a couple times was there were moments where I felt like the characters were just really acting hard for no reason. Not like acting hard, but just like they were just really animated and almost seemed like they were in like a comedy or like doing a skit or something, And that happened. It would happen like once or twice an episode. And I think Dee was probably the biggest culprit. Like every once in a while she'd just do something really animated. And I'm like, is this the same show here? Is she just like playing a different role right now?
Yeah. I think it especially happened when she would go into her Jamaican accent.
Because
spoiler, that came out of nowhere.
The first time it came out of absolutely nowhere. By the end, I was like, okay, I guess.
It was because it was like, she's getting her island accent on. I'm like, her island accent on? What?
Because I don't even know if she had many lines before, but I didn't like notice it. And then I was like, she have an island accent? And then the husband said something. I was like, oh, so this did come out of nowhere. Okay.
But, he was like, this happens when she's angry, and I'm like, what is happening?
I was like, oh,
I
was not paying attention. But
that was wild.
Overall, it just really wasn't the show for me at this time. Like, just very high school energy. It was funny, it was funny, but again, like I couldn't get behind most of the plots just because they were just very high school,
Yeah.
It got a 2.5 from me. What did you give it?
I also gave it a 2.5. It was just it was such a sitcom to me, and such a 90s sitcom to me, where it might not have had that feel-good ending at the end every time, but it still was like, and we're learning a lesson. It was very much that, and there was some like corny, campy, cheesy stuff that I would have ate up if I watched this show when I was younger. Like I said, this is like a spiritual predecessor to That's a Raven, and like I can see where other shows that I have watched got influenced by this, but since I didn't watch it when I was younger, and now I'm here watching it as an adult, I'm like, girl, if you don't take that car, or like, come on, there's so many easy options to like what you're doing.
I was gonna say, watching it now, I'm honestly kind of surprised we didn't watch it as a kid.
Yeah, because it wasn't bad.
It seems right up our alley of shows we watched as a kid. Like, I will say this one probably had a little more like sexual humor, especially with the parents, but like, this was a pretty tame show, Like, it definitely seemed like something we would have watched.
Yeah, so like, that's this big surprise of the show, of this episode. We didn't watch this when we were kids. Because this does feel like something we could have watched.
It definitely does.
It does.
It also just, this is unrelated to anything about the show, but it was just not the show I thought it was. Like, in my head, I think I thought I was about to watch The Parkers, because I have seen, a few episodes of The Parkers just on TV, and I thought they were the same show.
That makes sense. Because, again, this is the Parkers is the sequel.
Yeah, so I'm glad to know it's a spin-off, so I'm not just, like, completely just...
You're not crazy.
Yeah, but I think I've seen a lot of Parkers, and then Moesha would come on after, and so I just conflated the two in my head before watching it. But glad I saw Moesha.
All right, so last question: are you gonna finish the rest of the series?
This one's like a pretty easy no for me. Like, again, just not the show for me, not the time for me.
Yeah.
Like, again, had I been a kid still, like I probably would have eaten this show up, but right now, like I see no reason to continue. Like, I don't think the storylines will get any more like interesting to me. Like, I don't need to see her reject another car. I don't need to see her, like, deal with her, like, boy troubles. So for me, it's a pretty easy no. How about you?
Also a no. Just because this didn't capture my attention in the way that a lot of shows that I do watch have. Like, it's not even that I don't like sitcoms. It's just, this one was very, like, middle of the road. I will say the most that I would would do is if someone recommended an episode to me, I would be like, okay, I'll watch it. Because it's easy enough to watch. Like, but I'm probably not going to watch it. If it's on TV, I won't, like, freak out and change the channel.
Yeah.
But this isn't, like, no, probably not.
Okay. So, I guess that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that was
Moesha
Moesha.
season 1. YouTube housekeeping, like, comment, subscribe.
Ring the bell. Leave us any suggestions if you want us to watch any TV shows. We also do movies on Tuesdays and
Fridays, yeah.
And we do TV on Sundays along with music. So that's pretty much everything. All of our social medias will be linked down in the description box below. And we'll see you next time to catch up. Bye.